There's nothing worse than living in a home that's tense. Everybody's on edge. You feel like at any moment something could explode. Oh, you don't have to live that way. Do your best to create an atmosphere of peace and unity in your home. And when you're tempted to say things that you know you shouldn't, maybe you're tempted to pop off and say hurtful, critical things, the next time you have that opportunity, do yourself a favor. Take a deep breath. Pause about 10 seconds and think about what you're going to say. Do you know those words can cut like a knife? It may only take you 15 seconds to say them, but 3 months later, the person will still be feeling the sting. It's like a burn. If you ever touch the stove, man, you pull your hand off immediately, but weeks and weeks later, it's still bothering you. That's what hurtful, critical words can do. And we should never threaten our spouse with divorce. It's very unhealthy. I've heard people say, well, if you ever do that again, I'm out of here. If you don't do this, I'm leaving. No, don't even let those words out into the atmosphere. Your words have creative power. When you speak something like that out, you're just giving the enemy a right to bring it to pass. And the Bible tells us to be angry and sin not. The truth is, at times we're all going to get angry. Anger is an emotion God has given us, but we don't have to blow up and say these hurtful things that are going to damage our relationships. Let's learn to take a step back, collect our thoughts, and think about what we're going to say. I love what my mother did. One time she and my father had gotten into a disagreement, and my dad was kind of put out, and he decided he was going to give my mother the silent treatment. Mother would come through the house and ask him something, and Daddy would answer back in the shortest, most unfriendly way he possibly could. I mean, he was giving her the cold shoulder deluxe. And this went on for an hour or two, and he was doing his best to ignore my mother. Well, my mother finally got tired of it. She's kind of feisty, and she decided to do something about it. So she went and hid behind a door, and she stayed there as still and quiet as she could be. Well, my father got to looking for her everywhere. Couldn't find her anywhere. The more he looked, the more frustrated he got. He said, it's terrible to try to ignore somebody and you can't even find them. This went on for 10 or 15 minutes, and finally Daddy started getting kind of worried. He thought, man, maybe the rapture came and I got left behind. About that time, he walked past the door where my mother was, and my mother jumped out on my father's back, wrapped her arms and legs around him, and said, John, I'm not getting off until you cheer up. They laughed so much that my father forgot what he was mad about. What's my point? Ladies, you need to start jumping on your husband's back. No, seriously, what I'm saying is to create a fun, loving atmosphere in your home. These are stressful times. We all get uptight. We all have disagreements, but we should not allow that to linger. And too often we get complacent. Well, I know I shouldn't say this, but I'm mad. I'm going to say it anyway. I know I need to forgive, but I don't feel like it. I'm going to go around pouting for a couple of weeks. Little by little, the relationship gets worse and worse. But if we're going to have strong, happy marriages, we have to fight for that marriage. And I want to sound the alarm while there's still time to do something about it. Don't allow strife in your home. Don't play these petty games. Don't go around with bad attitudes. Do whatever it takes to keep the peace. Victoria and I have been married going on 20 years now. And we don't agree on every single thing, but one thing I can tell you is we are committed to each other. We're committed to our family. We're committed to our children. And any differences, we're going to work through them. I've known people, they're committed while they're dating. They're committed the first couple years of marriage. They're committed while everything's rosy. But how about when the sizzle wears off, so to speak, and you're not in Never Never Land, so in love? Now, instead of that man romancing you, you're having to pick up his dirty socks. You're having to wash his smelly workout clothes. That takes commitment. For some of you, it takes real commitment. Or men, how about when you were dating, she always looked perfect, dressed to a T. You never saw her without her makeup. Now you wake up in the morning and you think, who is that woman over there? But marriage is a commitment, not a feeling. I heard a true story about a president of a very prestigious university. He was an older gentleman, very well-respected leader. Later in his life, his wife developed Alzheimer's. And unfortunately, month after month, it continued to get worse. Several years down the road, it got so bad that she could not even recognize her husband anymore. This man was well-to-do, had plenty of people taking care of her. But one day he went in and announced to the board of the university that he was going to resign so he could spend his full time taking care of his wife. And man, they just couldn't understand it. They tried to talk him out of it. They told him how needed he was. One board member spoke up and said, "Why would you even want to do this? She doesn't even know who you are."